Long ago, in the flourishing land of Umudin, lived a beautiful princess called Okama, the first daughter of King Igodo. He had 2 wives, Eke and Afo. Eke gave birth to Princess Okama, who was the first of the king's 3 daughters. Afo gave birth to Nena and Ujunwa. They were equally blessed with good looks, but Okama's beauty was unmatched. Her presence radiated a charm that captured the hearts of many, especially that of the formidable warriors of Umudin and neighboring villages. But she was a rebellious child and always curious, sometimes defying the expectations set upon her. Queen Afo had hatred for Okama and hatched an evil plan to get rid of her as soon as possible. By the east of the village were 3 mountains which were forbidden to cross over because on the other side of the mountains stood the fearful Okija forest. In those days, spirits roamed within the forests, and for many years, an ancestral charm prevents them from crossing the 3 mountains to wreak havoc in Umudin or neighboring villages. But charm didn't stop the whispering of the voices of the spirits from reaching the village and calling out to some unfortunate souls in dreams, inviting whoever was careless enough to their doom. Okama was the talk of the village, and many suitors vied for her attention, including princes and warriors from other villages. But you see, Okama's heart was drawn to Ejike, a poor brave farmer whose wisdom was very remarkable. Ejike was very diligent in his farming and lived with his mother, Madame Frida. He was very courageous and always found a way around problems. This caught the princess's attention. Okama had just turned 21 years, and her wicked stepmother called her to her chamber and handed an ancient amulet, which she had buried in her hut for some years now. She told Okama it was for protection against evil, and to only wear it on special occasions or when she is alone away from the king's presence. 2 nights later, Okama started hearing the whispers in her dreams. The whispers from the Okija forest called to her, echoing secrets of a distant ancestral past. But out of fear, she could not tell anyone except her trusted friend Ejike. On a fateful moonlight evening, as Ejike walked her back to the palace, they met children gathered around old Obuefi, the village drunkard and palm wine tapper, telling them scary stories. Obuefi spoke of the spirits that guarded the secrets of Okija forest and how at a certain time of the year, the spirits started calling out to a selected person. Okama and Ejike listened intently as Obuefi warned that whoever hears such whispers is to visit the village witch doctor immediately for cleansing, else the whispers will lure them to wander beyond the forbidden mountains. This sent a fearful chill through the gathering, and Ejike quickly dragged Okama away and continued on their way to the palace. That night, Okama held Ejike by the hand and said to him, "Ejike, I will be going beyond the mountains, and I want you to join me. I want us to explore these stories together. Obuefi is obviously drunk, and for all we know, these stories everyone keeps telling could just be a big lie. Please, can you come with me?" Ejike touched her cheeks and then her neck and firmly asked her, I thought Dibiaka's herbs worked the last time you were sick. Or did you get worse? What is this you are asking me to do with you? That cannot happen. Now, I think you should retire for the night. Okama simply said, Bianwokim, meet me by Uri stream at the close of market tomorrow. If you don't come, I will go to the mountain alone. With that, she turned and ran into her father's compound. Ejike went home worried. He knew they should not go over the mountains, but he also cannot let her go alone. Unable to sleep, he finally decided he will show up to stop her from the dangerous adventure. The following day, true to her threats, Okama showed up by the Uri stream and met Ejike waiting. But before he could say a word to her, she ran off in full speed, heading for the mountains. Ejike, in complete shock, looked around to be sure nobody saw them and started running after her. Almost immediately, he realized she had gone quite a long distance than he could ever cover. So he quickly continued after her, screaming her name as he ran along. As Okama approached the top of the first mountain, she witnessed a spectral apparition. An old woman carrying firewood on her head. As she drew closer, the woman vanished. She simply felt she was imagining things and continued to the top of the first mountain. There, she turned back to see Ejike jumping from rock to rock as he raced towards her. But beyond that, the whispers she had only heard in her dreams came to her, this time louder, calling to her very essence, Okama, daughter of Igodo, come, come! She felt a little fear, but her curiosity got the better part of her judgment. She turned and headed for the second mountain, but dropped her jar of water for Ejike to quench his thirst. Okama, Okama, Okama! Please, we have to turn back. This is very dangerous. Ejike shouted at the top of his voice. But Okama was halfway up the second mountain. Ejike picked up the water jar and continued on his race. Okama looked up as she approached the top of the mountain. And this time, she saw a baby sitting beside a tree. But as she drew close, she saw that the bizarre baby had the head of an old man. She quickly came to a sudden halt and tried to comprehend what she was looking at. But right at that instant, the scary-looking baby jumped and latched to the tree nearby, laughed weirdly, and ran up quickly into the tree, into the covering of the leaves. Just then, Okama heard a second voice calling to her. Okama, the princess of Umudin, don't you want to see your true beauty? Can a maiden be called most beautiful if the spirits haven't seen her? Hurry, Okama, come quickly! Okama's pride quickly kicked in. How can they say I'm not beautiful? Are they blind? She thought to herself. In fact, the more reason I have to let them see me. She turned around and yelled at Ejike, who had drawn close to her. Bianwo Kim, you're slowing me down, no? With that, she turned and ran towards the third mountain. The door stumbled upon an ancient stone arch covered in mystical symbols, a gateway to the heart of the forest. They argued for a short while, and both resolved to continue, since they had come this far. Ejike suddenly began to hear the same voices Okama was hearing, but they had reached a point of no return. They looked back and saw the baby with an old man's head, and the woman carrying firewood hanging in mid-air. Their eyes were lit like torches. These were the gatekeepers of the forest. Ejike held her hand and ran onwards. The path ahead became a labyrinth of twisted vines and thorns. Heavy voices and whispers lured them further into the heart of the Okija. Soon, they encountered spirits cloaked in mist, some as tall as Iroko trees. The spirits challenged them with ancient Igbo folklore riddles, asking riddles that echoed through the trees. "What has a heart that does not beat?" asked one of the spirits, while another inquired, "I speak without the mouth and hear without ears. What am I?" The challenges were tests of wit and wisdom, and the consequences of failure were dear. Okama and Ejike, confident in their intellect, attempted to answer the riddles. However, each response was met with haunting laughter, and the forest seemed to tighten its grip on them. The spirits, unsatisfied, declared their fate. Back at the village, the Obuefi, the drunkard palm wine tapper, ran into the palace like a madman. "Igwigodo, Igwigodo, Aluemeo," which translates, "King Igodo, a sacrilege has happened." He explained to the palace how he was up one of his tall palm trees close to Ure River, tapping his palm wine, when he suddenly saw the princess running in full speed into the mountains. But she was not alone. Ejike the farmer was with her. "The king has heard enough." He jumped off his throne in great shock and headed for the door. "Dibiaka, to the mountains now!" he yelled at the village chief priest. As he ran past him, he jumped on his royal horse and heaved for the mountains as his guards followed suit. As the forest darkened, the vengeful spirits materialized. The ancient amulet, thought to protect Okama, revealed its true nature. It was a cursed artifact that attracted the spirits' wrath. Queen Ofo had set her up to be lured into the forest and killed by the spirits. Desperation set in as Okama and Ejike attempted to escape the impending doom. For the first time in a long time, Okama was afraid and held on to Ejike's arm. The amulet in her wrist started glowing blood red. Ejike saw this, but was too confused to ask questions. As the spirit's patience waned, the whispers transformed into chilling cries, and the vengeful apparitions descended upon Okama and Ejike. Ejike picked up a stick on the forest floor, whipped it several times through the air from side to side, but it was futile. In the chaos, Okama was engulfed by the spirits, disappearing into the realm of echoes. Her voice echoed in deep fear into Ejike's head as it faded gradually. Ejike, help me! Ejike's heart melted as he saw her fade into the lights that engulfed her from all sides. Okama! Okama! Where is she? She's the daughter of King Igodo. Where is she? He inquired, but the weight of the spirits intensified with more echoes. He turned and saw the glowing amulet on the floor where she last stood, picked it up, and made a run for his dear life. At full sprint, he headed back to the way he had entered. All the spirits went after him. Not too long, he passed the stoned arch with mystical symbols and started up the mountain. The gatekeepers transformed into heinous-looking creatures with many eyes and glided towards him for a head-on collision. Ejike covered his face and went for it without a thought. On impact, the gatekeepers turned into smoke, and Ejike's amulet fell off from his hand. He ran as fast as he could and saw several touches coming down the mountainside. He screamed at the top of his voice, Abu Umudim, Abu Umudim, which translates, I'm a son of Umudim village. The king and his men suddenly saw from behind Ejike great spirits emerging from the forest behind him. The sight shocked both men and their horses, and the king and his men pulled back heavily on their horses for a halt. The king knew it will not be a fair battle. Ejike caught up with them and ran into the company of the king's men. The horde of spirits whooshed through the winds and made their way towards the people. Just then, a ball of fire fell from the sky between the king and the spirits a few meters away. The fireball transformed into Dibiaka, who suddenly broke 2 eggs in front of the spirits. Young man, where is my daughter? The king asked. Ejike struggled to catch his breath. I said, where is my daughter? Ejike explained all that had happened to the king, and then mentioned the glowing amulet which Okama wore. Ah! Dibiaka exclaimed, with his hands on his head. Ezi Godo, how did she lay hands on this cursed amulet? He inquired, but no one had an answer. The king lowered his head, and tears dropped from his eyes. Who has done this to me? He whispered to himself. With a heavy heart, they all went back to the village. That night, no man slept in the palace. Dibiaka consulted with the oracles until the morning. Then he revealed, my king, Okama lives, but is held up in the land of the spirits. In 7 days' time, she will be killed and will join the spirits. But the journey to rescue her is far more dangerous than what any man would want to embark on. He explained the perilous task ahead to rescue Okama. A dangerous quest awaited. The journey into the heart of the spirit world, where reality and folklore converged.